the Everyday Superwoman Show. I am your host, Kim LaRue, and I am excited about this season's Superwoman lineup. It's going to be phenomenal. And our guest today, our Superwoman guest today is Diana Pharr. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Diana Pharr, at least my interpretation of who Diana Pharr is. Diana Pharr is a mother, a sister, a friend, an auntie, a marketing consultant, a numerologist, spiritual healer, alchemical teacher, and the list goes on and on and on. But with that, let me introduce you to Miss Diana Pharr.
Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to be here. It really is. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely intro.
Thank you for being here. I feel so honored. I know that was my interpretation, my introduction of who Diana Pharr is, but tell us, who is Diana Pharr?
Well, you know, what I liked about your description, because recently people have been giving me titles and that are not truly my professional titles, but the first thing, above all, I am a mother. Everything I do, even though I am a teacher and I do teach spirituality and alchemy, I've been doing that for 40 years, the center of my life really is my family. I don't know if they realize that, but everything I do now and ever have done has been because of my children.
Right.
So that's the center of my life.
Right, I understand that. I know that you are a spiritual healer. And what is that? What is a spiritual healer?
Well, everything, we're more familiar with the physical world, what we can see, or we have the impression that we are. But everything that has form has a spirit behind it, has a spiritual essence, has a spiritual foundation. And when it comes to healing, that all illnesses, all circumstances in our lives, any malady that you can imagine, whether it's in the physical body or in your finances, in your circumstance, first the spiritual cause must be addressed, because that's how life is constructed.
Okay.
The physical depends on the spiritual, not the reverse.
Okay. I understand that. When was the first time you claimed being a spiritual healer?
That was actually very recent, even though I've been doing this work for 40 years. I've been hiding behind alchemy for a long time, because there's a stigma in our community, there's a stigma in the world about genuine spirituality, and my work is true initiation. It's true spiritual work. It takes your life, it takes the spiritual from idea and dogma into real practice that changes your life. And we're just becoming comfortable with that as a society. And my initiation into it was trauma. You know, when in the 60s, when they were in the early 60s, there was nothing trendy or chic about hearing things or seeing things, and certainly having experiences with beings from other dimensions. There was no cultural context to fit myself within. So there were many years of loneliness, studying solitude, and leaving a huge part of myself out of how I articulated my life. And that still exists to a large degree. There are a lot of people that only know me as a marketing person. In fact, when I was here, I ran into someone that I knew from business and marketing, and they're like, but you're doing what?
And like spiritual healing.
And it's like, and that is, you know, all of the rumors, all of the urban myths are true.
Okay.
You know, men of color really do think spiritualists can put their menstrual blood in their food and hook them up and all of that. And we have not, the Inquisition still exists.
Yes.
But now it's on an emotional, psychological level. They're not torturing women, but actually in some parts of the world they're still doing that also.
Yes, they
So
are.
this is the truth of spiritual work. Really working with spiritual energies, we're just growing into. And I would say about the last 2 years, I've been saying comfortably, I'm a spiritualist.
Okay.
You know, I teach alchemy, but I'm a spiritual healer. That is what I do.
Right.
So yeah, I had to grow into it.
Wow. So when you were younger, were there signs and symbols that you are a spiritual healer? Like,
when you ask me that, I'm like, you know, my heart says, well, when you were younger, how did you feel? Because looking right I know that you know that you are, you know that what your work is. It's spiritual work.
It's all connected.
And it's always been, and so I know, have you not always had a sense that that the physical world was not the end all? That's always been present in your life. So yes, it has always been with me.
Yes.
In many ways, I dreamt my life. Well, I think in many ways, all of us, that we kind of know who we are. Yes. Some of the twists and turns that it takes us through, it's like, well, did I veer off on a wrong road? That, and usually that's the growth and development part that we don't identify. But the high points, I knew as a child that I would be, I was a teacher.
You was a teacher,
yes.
or you were different, or
yes,
okay.
Yes. And the people that work with me, most of the people that do my training, I do an annual training, and my life experiences very often mirror them. That's what's so wonderful about this time, that it's being magnified, that I went through a period of time where I knew that people saw something different in me, and they resented it. And what I recognize now is that the basis of the resentment was that, but that's mine, that's me, that's who I really am. And now that I recognize that, I pray for that when people look at me, that they see their divinity.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And they say, yes, that's who I am, that I can also heal. I'm also psychic and telepath. All of these things are normal.
Yes.
And that we all share it, and that's manifesting in my work now, that I'm seeing people mature spiritually in front of my eyes, blossom and take the alchemy into their work, magnified, and my life's not changing. It's being magnified through the people.
Right.
It's a dream come true.
That's wonderful. So let's talk about alchemy.
Yes.
Okay, what is alchemy?
Well, the word means of Chem. Chem is the indigenous name of Egypt. And al is the prefix, is Arabic for of. So alchemy means of life. In most of the historical references in the literature, it's given to Hermes as the father of alchemy. Hermes tried 3 times great. But what it really is 7 universal principles that explain how life works. And it's a master key to discern scripture, because scriptures have been manipulated by historians for political reasons, all types of things.
Yes.
But when you understand universal law, the masters really left us a technology. So what as a teacher, I'm really a conduit. I'm really a conduit for an ancient legacy that connects us to our true nature. There are those of us like yourself that might have been born with those energies a little more active, but the truth is that we're such a small bit of who we truly are as beings. And alchemy is the key to the technology to live in a certain way that evokes that brings it alive.
Right. And you are an alchemy teacher. My question is, did you take up training for this? Did you go to school? No. It's
the history, the legacy of alchemy goes back for thousands and thousands of years. And historically it is passed down spiritually from teacher to student. That's the legacy. I think we're moving into an age where it will be integrated more into the traditional academic environment. In fact, I'm proactive. I just wrote a proposal for a barefoot doctors movement for Medgar Evers.
Wow.
And,
thank you.
And including in that is allopathic, medical medicine, acupuncture, and natural healing. But I'm a part of the curriculum that Alchemy and Spiritual Healing is the foundation and the prerequisite for all healing.
Right. That is great. I want to announce that I will be a WOTA, Way of the Alchemist graduate come January 31st. This show will air after my graduation. And I am taking an alchemy training course. And it's wonderful. That's for a lack of a better word. Diana Pharr is my teacher. Yeah, might as well let it all out. Yes.
Since I outed you as a healer, right?
Let's just put it all out.
We can just out each other. We can just out each other.
And the training has been a wonderful guide with me in this process. it's amazing. It's a remembrance. Once you come in and you hear and it's like, wow, this sounds familiar. It sounds new, but it doesn't feel new.
But it doesn't feel new.
You know,
that's an excellent way to put it.
Yes.
I'm going to repeat that.
Yes.
This sounds new.
Right.
But it doesn't
feel new. You know.
It's familiar with it because that's the nature of the truth.
Yes.
Any truth we feel in resonance. We feel that's true. That's power. We can feel it.
Yes. With that, I want you to share with everyone about your training course, how they could get in touch, how they could get involved.
Sure. The contact information is 718-622-6857. They can email me at diana@dianapharr.com. I'm in the process of putting that information online. But if you contact me in any of those ways, you will be emailed the information that will give you a full outline of the training. And also, well, this is going to air after our open house period.
Right.
But all of February and March, up to March, people will be able to come into the training. Because my experience over the years is that they're always, when people start, that they have friends, and that I'm setting it up in such a way that people will be able to take a makeup class and join us up until March.
Right.
Up until March.
Right. Well, I suggest you all just, if you're familiar with it, if you're not familiar with it, to just take a risk or do something different. The discipline that comes with it, I can't even explain it.
It's life-changing.
It's life-changing.
It's life-changing. What it is, that's why this year I did an open house, and I'm encouraging people to do the graduation, because the graduation will be the voice of the people that are finishing the training, not my voice. And I have a wonderful keynote speaker, Queen of Fool, who will be keynoting.
Okay.
And you really have to experience, because this is true spirituality. This is true initiation. It's not dogma. And it's wonderful for people to hear the testimony of the participants, because there's so much out there right now. It becomes a part of the chorus for people to be able to make through. But as Yeshua or Sananda is the galactic name of Jesus Christ, said the kingdom of heaven is throughout the world, but the uninitiated cannot see it, because you cannot. We have an image that it's blinged out, and it's mansions, and it's all of this excess that can be very toxic. But what alchemy does is get to the heart of your life. Not only are your goals manifesting, that you see your destiny unfold, but within your destiny is your healing, your maturity, your relationships working right, your understanding of life. It has so many layers.
That's what it is, and it's getting to your true self.
Absolutely.
And you know, that's what I have to say. What the alchemy classes has done for me. It supported me on the journey to my true self.
Your true self.
You know, and that's what it is. So I want to talk a little bit about you being a numerologist.
Okay. I'm actually, I have a once you, the study of alchemy really is the umbrella and the context that we can put everything in.
Okay.
Everything in. You can study, and that's what happens to the people in the training. If you're an artist, you're now anointed, because you're an artist that's aligned.
And it's that's the same thing. Different. That's very different. And it's the same thing also if you are a Christian, a Yoruba.
Yes.
You know, it falls in line. Alchemy is the umbrella. It all connects.
Exactly. It all connects. And then you're not just talking about spirituality. You're experiencing it.
Yes.
You're articulating it in your life in a tangible way, and you understand it. It's a technology. So the numerology, during the training, people do aspects of their numerological chart. Right. But I'm actually, 2012, I'm bringing in consultants as WODA associates. Okay. And it's my hope that Medicine Women's Productions will be a WODA associate and teach about creativity and the spirituality of it. Yes. That WODA will be offering electives, people through the people who do the training. Okay. That their expertise then becomes anointed, because once they're aligned, then all of this energy starts to come into their work.
Right. And the flow happens.
yes,
the flow happens.
And the connectivity is different. So it's not just creative expression. It's anointed creative expression. It's not just law. It is divine law. It's connected. It's connected. So it's very different.
Okay, great. With being a numerologist, have you done readings as a numerologist?
Yes,
okay, so people come to you, you know their numbers, their charts.
I did that for a long time.
Okay.
That was my entry into the work. I started out as a reader. And as a reader, and a reader spiritualist in dusty tea rooms where people came to find out if somebody had hooked their man up, and, it was not, I didn't evolve in the holistic health milieu is so nice and peace, and, it's like, now I was that woman that, that women wore glasses and shades and didn't want anybody to know that they were coming to see her. I was that girl. And I didn't want people to know that I was that girl.
I love it.
So that was the start. And then because when I started out, there was no holistic health community.
Right.
It didn't exist.
Right.
So when it emerged, and I began to meet wonderful, wonderful people, they're still now my dear friends and colleagues. And I began to do psychic fairs, and I did readings for a long time. And I taught alchemy. Now I primarily teach. Now my mission is for what has been a delight in the healing in my life is knowing is that in truth I am not different. I'm just more active. It's more active in me because I am a teacher.
Okay.
But what I have is magnified. And I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that in you.
Oh, yes.
I've
seen it in you.
You have namaste.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Yes.
Let the heart chakra, let it flow.
Yes.
And that is the solution to all of the maladies of the world. To let the energy flow.
Yes.
That what we're seeing in each other, that we want to covet and create boundaries and call them countries and to meet with each other, that truly there is an infinite amount of.
Yes.
And if we relate to each other in this way, that's Moda's vision for the future, that now people that have done the training, as we get to know each other, we are discovering the divinity, why we showed up in each other's lives, and magnifying that and finding new ways to do business, government, everything, but from an alchemical perspective.
I love it.
Yes.
Now, I know that you are a mother, and just all that you just shared with us, how did you do all that and still be a mother? Meaning the numerology, the readings,
It was
you
a
know,
mess.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. It was real. I'm 60, and you're seeing, Ashe to you.
I want to look
it's the
good
new-
just like that at
It's
60.
the new, and this is we're built to last at least a century, if not longer. We're actually built to last hundreds of years. And we'll be doing more of that longevity.
Okay.
Because the high work of alchemy is immortality. But now that I finally have some second level students, and it's time.
Yes.
It's time that these things are, even what's being expressed in the media is much more information, esoteric information is being expressed than was years ago. But my mothering was a disaster. What was a disaster because it was very, very difficult for me in the early years. And being the child of someone who does this work was, as the young people say, not a good look. It's not. But I had two very evolved high souls as children. And we are working through our incarnation. I was married to a man who has now dropped the body, who is an acupuncturist. And part of spiritual work is that you take on the energy of other people. Yes. And it wasn't easy for my children having me as a mother. Where are we now? So much love. That has always been present.
There, yes.
That has always been present. But children want to be regular.
Right. That's going to be my next question. How did during their high school years or their teenage years, how did they look at you?
There was a period in my life where my work had a quasi-celebrity to it. I've done a lot of radio.
Yeah, okay.
They had friends who, you know, my children grew up with Queen Afua's children. Okay. You know, they're spiritual cousins. You know, Spirit Queen is my dear, closest friend. So there was a part of it that it had a cachet to it. But when you do work where you're serving the public, and at that time my work was the Center for Esoteric Studies. My house was always busy with people. And my children, it was not always a good time for them. You know, having a mother whose attention,
right, her energy was directed to this person that
because
those
children
needs of others.
need to feel. But so in truth, I feel one that was part of their lesson, and I think that the development. And it's interesting what we're talking about, because a lot of very, very high souls, they are not nurtured in the way that they would like to be. My children are both born on a 1.
Okay. And what does that mean, born on a 1?
Well, having 1, and the 1 is the number of independence.
Okay.
It's not compatible with childhood. So people that are born in October or January, they have to find independence, their own center. Is key to this incarnation. And that was the legacy that I had also. I was not a particularly nurtured child. It was, my mother was a bourgeoisie in Lanza Black, and she was not feeling having a spiritualist daughter. You know, or a strange daughter. And I was a very strange child, and it was not within her parameters. And it was like, we're not feeling this, and why don't you go to school and get a degree like your sisters and act normal? Please. You know, so I myself didn't know what it was to be loved. Because my mother didn't know what this was, and she didn't know how to handle it and what to do with it. You know, so I was back and forth in mental institutions, and because it was no context in the 50s and 60s. If you experienced life in another way, the only thing they felt, the only context was clinical. People are not supposed to see things that other people don't see. No, you're not hearing anything, and put that in, you know. And then there's a legacy. There's a legacy to this. The Inquisition went on for centuries. Millions of women were murdered.
Absolutely.
And tortured.
And hung.
You know, so we're just starting to heal from that. And I see that in my training where people start to come out where they say, well, yeah, I kind of like been, you know, I felt a little something, you know, because it's not the first thing you want to share.
But if it's all around, actually, you know, people are showing up and they like, I see dead people.
And
you know,
Woe is going to turn him out. Woe is going to turn him out.
And it's like,
Brother Woe didn't get turned out. It's like, you see me, I see you too.
But you know, for me, it's cool, and I know for you, it must be really cool, because it's like, I see dead people. It's like, girl, you know what I do too. What they say. And it's okay now.
And now,
it's okay.
and this, the point of initiation, the training goes from atonement, alignment, ascension, anointing.
Yes.
Anointing is when you really come into your truth. And then the anointing is that you have the spiritual forces of the heavens and the earth cooperating with you, because you're not going against the flow of the Tao or of the life force. You're cooperating with it, so your work is now blessed. You're anointed.
As above is below.
And yes, that you become a mirror of that. You become a reflection of heaven as you.
Yes.
Because we're all the I am as ourselves. That's what the ancient golden age was about, where we were all a creative expression of the divine, and namaste, we honored in one another. Wow. So yes.
Phenomenal. Superwoman.
Superwoman.
I'm loving it. One other question before we close is, I know in 2011, people were absolutely terrified. They didn't think that we were going to see 2012.
Yes.
Now that we are here, what should the people expect for 2012?
It is, what's important is initiation is happening right now. That people, everyone, and it's different for everyone else.
Right.
That what you're feeling, the stress that people are feeling, it's not an old stress. It's not a new stress, but it's reached critical mass. The lack of tolerance to not be your genuine self. It's like we can't tolerate it anymore. That we need to be able to be, if it's a job, whatever it is that prevents the whole expression of who you are as a being. 2012 is about choosing truth. That's initiation.
Okay.
That when you have to be true to yourself in that moment, the energy is released.
But you know,
and that creates ascension. That's what 2012 is about.
You know, some people that I've spoken to, they don't know what their truth is.
Mm-mm.
But how can they get to that?
Mm-mm.
Like, what is it? What tools can they?
It happens in the small. It's like if you go out to dinner, your truth is you don't say to your dinner partner, "What do I want?"
Right.
You look at the menu and you choose what you want.
Right.
That's an exercise in truth.
Okay.
That I think that you start making decisions. Because we're so conditioned not to be ourselves that many of our food choices, our dress choices, everything is not who we are. So the more you just practice being your authentic self and the small things, your life, it's a gentle alignment. Initiation is when you have been tempered by that process, choosing small truths, and then what happens is the larger truths start to, or untruths start to glare at you, where it's like, this is maybe not my chosen field, or this is not, and you don't have to quit your job, but you bring in small portions of your truth, and what happens is a transformation. Because initiation isn't one time.
And is that where the ascension begins to happen?
Yes.
I am understanding this, okay?
And what's happening when you practice that, then you begin to ascend. You're on a different vibration.
Totally different frequency.
You're on a totally different, and then people start to notice in your life that you're vibrating in a different way. And that's what 2012 is about, because the counter force has just reached critical mass in terms of Big Brother is here, the control, our sovereignty, our freedom. Because we were happy to be controlled if they would allow us to live.
Isn't that something?
But now it's like, no, you can't live at all.
Right.
We have to manipulate your food. We're going to market your DNA. You know, it's the level of control.
It's like, I want to say right now, preach.
Yes. So 2012 is the crossroads, the choice between fear
and love,
and love, which is the power. And the intelligence of love is truth, your true self. So that's what initiates you into the power. So this year, governments, people, we're all at the crossroads. It's perfectly designed for us. And people that choose fear will be separated out. And we won't even see the difference. Because the kingdom in heaven is already here, but the uninitiated don't see it. But people that choose a higher vibration, next year we're going to ride. We are coming for ya. Because we are connecting in spirit, and we're all going to our particular professional disciplines with our light in vision, with the full armor of God, with the heaven and earth on our sides, and we're just going to quietly transform the world. Yes. Those that choose to live in fear, well, they can vibrate to that, but those of us that choose to live in love and choose to ascend and evolve back into our true form, we will no longer be their slaves.
Right. I like that. Well, thank you.
Magnify that.
Right. Diana, thank you.
It was a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
I feel so honored.
I feel so right back at you. Namaste.
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 Namaste. Yes, well, you have to make sure you tune in next week for another episode of the Everyday Superwoman Show. I was going to tell y'all who our next guest is going to be, but I think I want it to be a surprise. Just make sure you tune in next week. If you have any questions, or if you know a woman that should be on the Superwoman Show to share her story, please give us a call at 1-866-611-6546. Thanks for joining us. See you next week. And don't forget to put that S on your chest.